Weather warriors, come on in. Welcome to the State of the Weather Address. We're looking at the long-range snow forecast over the next month. So through November 1st, through the next few weeks, that's what we're looking at right now. Where's the best snow chances? How much snow could occur? Where's the best chance for snowstorms? That's what we're going to talk about here in a second. But first, if you like weather forecast videos on a daily basis, weather tutorials, extreme weather, photography, storm chasing, all that, subscribe and hit those bell notifications. We also go live. Also, comment below, what is your favorite weather feature to track? We'll get a comment thread going below. So let's look at the forecast first. Now, as a bit of disclaimer here, I'll move this. This is out through November 1st. Snowfall amounts are extremely hard to predict any more than about 3 to 5 days. But what we're looking at in this episode is very broad features. We're just making things really broad, and I'm going to show you something called the Cfs model that goes out almost a month here in a second. But first, this is just for fun, okay? Comment below if you want me to keep doing these. Again, this is YouTube. This is, you get a little extra stuff on this channel than you would on TV and all that. So just, again, the areas where you see lots of snow have much higher likelihood of actually seeing snow. And this goes through November 1st. This area right here, up in the northern plains, is definitely something we're watching here with the pattern. It's definitely trending up for snow. But again, it's so far out. But there is a higher than normal chance for snow in the northern plains, particularly in the Dakotas, maybe not quite Nebraska. This is your gauge, so how much snow is going to fall in the next month. Clearly up in the upper elevations out in the northwestern United States, you're going to get more than 18 inches. That's off the scale. Some areas probably 30 inches or so, especially in western Montana, like I said in my previous video. That area is going to get pegged with a snowstorm early. A lot of this snow is going to fall early in the month of October. The pattern's going to change, going to get a lot warmer. And so what's going to happen is the snow chances are going to go down for virtually the entire U.S. I have my my fall and October forecast on the channel. You can check that out. But this area, most of that snow is going to get dumped early. There's some indication there could be a little bit of snow in Maine by November as well. Most areas just, a few inches up in the upper elevations, potentially a few inches out in the Dakotas, and then several inches in the mountains. So again, this is a fun map. Things are going to change. I would say the most likely areas of receiving snow are this area right here, this area right here, and this area right here. That very high likelihood you'll get well over a foot, maybe a couple feet through November, probably 3 feet in some areas. So what we're going to look at next is the Cfs model. You can find this on pivotalweather.com. It's a weather models website that you can use and you can follow along. Again, these are shaky. The forecasts are shaky after about a week or so, so be careful with these. But the strengths of looking in the long range with a CFS, this is called the CFS model. It models the entire globe. Instead of maybe just the United States, it models the entire globe. So it's tracking all those weather features, and it's good at picking up patterns. Now, the European computer model is maybe a little bit better, but they don't have access to the public. So we're just going to look at the CFS. And the things you want to look for far out, really just a couple of things. The 500 millibar height anomalies, which is kind of measuring the pattern. And we're going to go out into the northern United States and look at the storm pattern here, or North America. And we're going to look at the storm pattern. And you can just see, this is October 1st now. You can see we've got a negative PNA, which essentially means there's troughing out in the west and ridging out in the east. That's going to bring warm conditions for the east half of the United States and very cold, stormy conditions for the west half, particularly up in the north central, northwestern United States. That's going to change quite abruptly here as we get towards mid-October. You might have another round in early October. And then mid-October, it starts getting kind of zonal across the United States, a little bit more active up in Canada, but starts to ridge out and starts to get warm. That's why I had most of the country warmer than average. But that will change as we get towards winter. Get maybe another slight troughing west and ridging east in later in October. But for the most part, kind of zonal, flat. And you're going to get some snow chances, I think, up in the northern tier of the U.S. and also in southern Canada throughout the month of October. So speaking of which, we'll look at that real quick. you can go down and you can actually see the snow depth. Okay, so that's what you would click on. And what's that measuring? Well, it's essentially measuring how much snow is on the ground. So we'll zoom into the United States here. And then we'll look at the storm, like the future the precipitation. So this is early October, late September here. You can see clearly this model has several inches. It's very broad in its area of snow. Obviously, there's going to be more snow in higher elevations, but this model is so, resolution is lower, and that's actually good for long-range forecasting. You don't want to get too much caught in the weeds, in forecasting whether it's going to snow in this mountain or that mountain, so you don't want to get too specific. So these broad kind of general areas indicate kind of confidence that there'll be a decent amount of snow. So obviously up in Montana through early October, you're looking at 6 to 12 inches plus. In this area, even more than that. Again, anything more than a week out, I mean, that's obviously right now, but anything more than a week out, you definitely want to take it with a grain of salt. And it's even indicating a good chance of snow here towards the 6th of October in the northern plains. I don't think that's going to occur that farther south. I think you're going to see a trend to warmer in that area, but definitely in the Dakotas, probably not Nebraska, but definitely potentially definitely in the Dakotas, it's trending more snowy as of late. Again, we'll make videos in the future if I see that this area really is going to get snow. But we're just doing this for fun because this is the long range. And so it indicates another snow near the 12th or 14th of October. And then after that, really just southern Canada and far points north are the areas of snow. Really, the U.S. is fine. And like I said, I think we're going to see a pattern change, and it's going to start to get kind of warmer across the United States throughout the month of October. So if you're going to get snow, it's going to be early, and it's going to be in those areas I mentioned in the northwestern, north central United States. Now, how about the snow depth anomaly? What's an anomaly? Well, an anomaly is essentially departure from average. So it's taking what the average snow depth should be for this area, and then it's computing an average. So these positive values down here in the blues and purples, that means it's above average snow depth. Reds are below average. So we'll go out to the 3rd of October here, and obviously the snow depth is above average out here. And if you saw my forecast about a week ago when you get your first snow, I said this area is going to get it very early, and they're going to get a lot of snow. It's going to be above average, and that's exactly what's happening. Now, I still think other people are in the East Coast are going to get early snow, particularly if you live in the Southeast, because the pattern is going to change later in December. So what we're looking at here is much above average, and we'll go through the entire month. And, also the Dakotas as well. You can see that. So we could be dealing with some above average snowfall kind of in this area. The Dakotas are definitely a question, very likely out here in the northwestern United States that we will get that. One other thing we'll look at real quick is the precipitation. So we can actually look at the precipitation all the way out, and then we'll look at trends. We can see where model trends are going. So you just click on precipitation, and you can see the snowstorm going through northwestern United States. Now, since this is right now, what I would actually look at is the NAM computer model. The Cfs model is better for medium and long range because it's looking at broad features. When you get into the 1 to 3 day range, yeah, you can get down to a fine model like a NAM computer model, which measures the United States. It's a lot more detailed, a lot higher resolution. But we're just using the CFS for this video. You can obviously see that snowstorm moves out, and maybe another precipitation around the 3rd, another storm that moves through the plains, packs a punch, very windy and cold behind it. You can see this blue line, this 540 line, that's going to indicate your average column temperature, 32 degrees or so in the atmosphere. Anything along and north of that typically is snow. Sometimes you can get wet snow just immediately south of that, but that's something you're going to want to watch this winter's, that 540 line, because I'm going to talk about it quite a bit. Now, you'll see that you got a big high pressure building up in Canada, and that's going to be responsible for some very cold air at the start of the month of October. That could give these areas a batch of some light snow, some wet light snow in early October. That moves out. Still, the CFS is indicating some pretty good high pressure building into the northern tier of the U.S. Go back out to the 15th, or what was that? Okay, that was around the 7th. Again, sometimes these models have trouble early in the season when we're transitioning from when the jet stream's coming down, we're transitioning from rain to snow. And sometimes they'll overdo it in the long range, is what I've noticed. So I wouldn't guarantee this area gets snow, but CFS is sure aggressive in the northern parts of North Dakota, South Dakota for the month of October. And then it starts to really warm up and your chances go much lower. There's a little snow batch that moves around on the 12th. That just doesn't quite look to me like a classic snow setup, but we'll see what happens there. I think your best chance is going to happen early in the month, and the pattern's going to change after that. You got some more systems around the 23rd. 24th, it looks pretty interesting in the East Coast. Big old system out there. And after that, it just, again, it's going to be pretty warm for the most part. Now, what you'd like to see is a classic comma head snowstorm for your especially your early season events. You'd like to see a low pressure system, a nice warm front, and then a nice cold front behind it with very strong cold air coming out behind it, and you'll get this kind of comma head appearance like this. And your snow is going to be typically on the west side, and that can indicate a very powerful low pressure system and a very strong drag of cold air and a good just conveyor belt moving into the storm. That's what you're going to want to look for an early season event and also a spring event as well. But that's what the long range is looking like. So pretty warm. Again, your best chances of snow are going to be early, and it's going to be particularly in this area, especially out in Montana as we head towards around maybe the 15th of October. But after that, it looks pretty warm across all the United States. All right, guys, so for the second half of these videos, we're going to do something called a mystery segment. And in today's mystery segment, we're going to go over Weather Warrior captures. These are videos and photos that you guys submit, and they can be current ones, past ones. We're just going to go over them and talk about them, and because there's some pretty cool stuff out there. Now, I don't have any of your guys' photos yet. We're just going to go over a couple of mine that I've taken in the past. But if you are interested in showcasing your photos or videos, send me a message here on YouTube. I'm also going to create a website where we can submit some as well. So today we're going to go over Weather Warrior captures. Other days it might be a weather tutorial. Other days it might be something else. So first and foremost, this photo I took out in Lincoln, Nebraska, just north of Lincoln, Nebraska. The northern lights came all the way down into Nebraska. Whoops. This was back when the solar cycle was coming. It was at the peak, I believe. I think it was around 2011 or something. And you also had the moon, and I believe that was Venus up there. So you had the moon, Venus, auroras coming down. It was quite the sight to see in the middle of Nebraska. You rarely get auroras down in Nebraska, but you do sometimes. Sometimes they're pretty crazy. Now, we'll go to the next one here. This is a ice photo that I took out in Lincoln, Nebraska as well. Beautiful ice, kind of it's called rime or hoarfrost. It can actually accumulate. It's kind of like frost and fog and stuff that accumulates on the trees, freezes it. In a way, it's like dew that collects and just freezes it. In this case, I think it was about a half an inch or so, and it was just this like fine crystal stuff sparkling on these trees in the moonlight. So it was quite the sight to see. When you wake up, sometimes these things are just white all over the place. So beautiful sight with a very blue hue behind it, the moon shining through. Those are the best photo ops, I think, in the winter. So we'll have to make a forecasting video to how to forecast that type of stuff. So if you're interested in photography, we'll definitely do something for that. So this photo took out it was Pilger, Nebraska. This was back in mid-June of 2014. This day was insane. There was giant tornadoes falling all over the place. We had 3 EF4 tornadoes, a couple other weak tornadoes as well. This is a dying EF3 here near the lightning. The lightning struck as this tornado was, dying out, but it had this similar shape to it. It was right next to it. Kind of an interesting ordeal there. And then behind it, this was actually a new tornado developing, an EF4 that was building and swirling in. This tornado actually kind of rotated around it as well. And I do have a video of that on this channel, and there was haystacks involved as well. So it was like a scene out of a Wizard of Oz, just a nutty scene out there in Nebraska. So pretty crazy. You know, it felt like I was in a different world. And believe it or not, this day, the tornadoes weren't the craziest thing. It was actually the lightning. The lightning prior to this tornado falling, we had lightning strikes every 2 seconds. It sounded like a war zone. I mean, it literally sounded like nukes were going off left and right. Never seen anything like that. The most craziest storm I think I've ever seen. So nonetheless, if you guys have photos like this or videos, feel free to submit them to this channel. Just direct message me or send them on the messages. We'll start showcasing these as well. So with that said, again, comment what is your favorite weather feature to track. Comment that in the comments below. And again, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe. We release these daily. We're going to release some live streams as well and stuff like that. Let me know your thoughts. And again, hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you soon.